Hi there. In this lecture, I am going to explain what's called time signature. Now, when you're reading music, when you're looking at music, the first place you're going to look is right here, right before the beginning of the staff, okay? And what you're going to find here is what looks like a fraction, okay? Now, you're going to see a number here, and you're going to see a number here. Now, what the number here means, let's put a 4. That's going to tell you how many beats per each measure, okay? So if you see a 4 up there, it means in each measure, your beats are going to total 4, okay? Now that bottom number is going to tell you which note gets the beat. So let's say you see a 4 here. By the way, this is very common time signature, so you're going to see this a lot. And what that means is a quarter note, which you know looks like this, is going to equal 1 beat, okay? So if you see 4 up here, it means 4 beats per measure. 4 down here means quarter note gets a beat. So say you have 4 of these quarter notes in a measure. Each of these notes is going to get a beat. So it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, okay? Now, that is going to be the most common time signature you're going to see, but you also might see something like, you might see a 3-4, meaning there's 3 beats in a measure, and the quarter note gets the beat, okay? So all that means is that the number of beats is going to total 3. So say you have a half note and a quarter note in this time signature. That half note is going to get 2 beats. The quarter is going to get 1. So 1 and 2 and 3. All right. Now let's look at some other time signatures you might see. Again, when you first start reading music, you're probably not going to see this, but sometimes what you might see is an 8 down here, and that means the 8 note's going to get a beat. Okay. So let's say we're in 6/8. Let's say there's 6 beats in a measure. I'm going to experiment with a different number up here too. So say we have a 6 and an 8. An 8th note gets the beat then, and all that means is what? In 4/4, this gets a beat. So in 6/8, where the 8th note gets the beat, when you see an 8th note, that gets 1 beat, okay? So you have to remember when you see this down here, see an 8, an 8 note gets the beat. So let's say you have these two. Normally in 4/4, these two will equal 1 beat, so it would be 1 and. But if you see an 8th note there, it's actually, each of these is a beat, so it's 1 and 2 and. And then if you see that 6 up there, that means that there's going to be 6 beats in a measure. So let's say there's 6 8th notes in a measure. See, you're going to have 6 beats, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. So just want to show you that, because if you do come across this, basically what it means is that instead of the 8th note being a half, it's going to be 1 beat. So they're going to be a lot slower than they are in 4/4 time. In 4/4 time, these are each a half beat, so it's 1 and 2 and 3 and. But in 6/8 time, this is going to get a beat all to itself. So you're going to be playing these 8th notes much slower, okay? Because they're going to be 1 beat instead of a half. So what I want to show you also is if an 8th note gets a beat, the relationship to the notes doesn't change. So if you remember when we talked about this note being a half note and this note being a quarter note, and this quarter note gets half the amount of beats as this note. So that relationship is not going to change. Even if an 8th note gets 1 beat instead of a half a beat, this quarter note is still getting twice as many counts as the 8th note. So in this time, 6/8 time, this quarter note is going to get 2 beats. And this half note is going to get double the quarter note, so it's going to get 4 beats. See what I mean? That relationship doesn't change. A quarter note is always going to get 2 times the amount of counts as the 8th note, and the half note is always going to get 2 times as much as a quarter note. So I want you to just understand that relationship, because even if you have a different time signature, if a different note gets the beat, that relationship will not change. So remember we talked about the whole note. In 4/4 time, and when the quarter note gets the beat, this whole note gets 4 beats. When the eighth note gets the beat, this is going to get 8 beats, okay? So even though this number here might change, the relationship between the notes doesn't change, okay? So that's why I want to sort of show you that. And sometimes you might actually see 16 at the bottom, which means a 16th note gets the beat. So this note, a 16th note, which is normally a quarter of a beat, is going to get 1 beat when you see that, okay? So this is going to be played a lot slower when you see a 16 there, okay? So when you first start out, most likely you're just going to see a 4/4 here. So, but I just want to show you the other possibilities you might see, all right? And another way of saying 4/4 is just a C here, which means common time, because 4/4 is fairly common. So that is an introduction to time signature, and it is going to be important when you're reading music. You are going to have to look at this and sort of just to get an idea of which note gets, well, to know which note gets the beat and how many beats per measure, because that's going to help you counting out your music. Okay, so that is time signature, and what that time signature is that fraction at the beginning of your music. Okay, so the number up here, to reiterate, is the number of beats per measure. And this is which note gets the beat. So if it's a 4, the quarter note gets the beat. If it's an 8, an eighth note. If it's a 16, the 16th note. So for the most part, quarter note's going to get the beat. But you might see an 8 here or 16, and that just means that you're going to play, basically, you're going to play eighth notes really slow. You're going to play an eighth note, what's normally half beat, is a beat, okay? And if you see the 16th here, every 16th note is going to be a beat. So everything's going to basically slow down the higher this number, okay? But the relationship will not change. A half note's always going to be twice as much as a quarter note. Just a quarter note is always going to be twice the amount of time as an eighth note, and an eighth note is always going to be twice the amount of time as a 16th note. So if you remember that relationship, it's actually pretty easy. Whatever this number is here is going to be pretty easy to figure out, okay, because that relationship won't change. Right, so that is time signature. And the next lecture, we are going to talk about how to put all of this information together. All right, see you then.